The following program contains scenes and language of a frank and explicit nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is The Loudness, where our random, rowdy, and raunchy band of misfits create top 10 lists of life's most insane shit. Be scared. Nothing is off limits. So congratulations.
You just made the list!
I'm the music guy CJ Plain, and this is The Loud List. You know what we do here? We create top 10 lists that rock. Or on occasion, we may get into a bracket or a recasting or something. We haven't done that yet. That's coming up down the line. Many of those ideas are stolen from this gentleman right here, wherever he is on your screen, up, down, left, right, BBAA, whatever the cheat code is. This is Mr. Freddie Fisher. He's going to introduce himself, tell you who he is, and then we're going to do a cool list for you tonight that's going to be a lot of fun. How are you, sir?
I am not your host this week, Freddie Fisher, but if you want to find more about me, I host, 5 different shows now. He was just, CJ was just talking about, like, the recasting episodes that he wants to do. We do a show called The Recasting Call, where we take old movies and add some new favorites. I was looking at the list that we've done, and by the end of the year, we will have a full tournament, a full 32 count tournament of movies that we have recasted on the Recasting Call, which brings up another show that we do. It's called Bracket Bastards, which is another thing that CJ is trying to steal from us. Granted, he's not stealing from us. We've told him multiple times he's more than allowed to do that. But we take a tournament of 32, 64, 128 or more and banter our way down to a winner via votes and conversations. And I tell people all the time that it's a way to come in as friends and leave as family. You can fight all you want, and we still have common condolences and everything else along those lines. There is an interview show. There is a pro wrestling show on there too, and a show that we're coming out sometime this summer called Versus, where the guests pick the topic, pick the contenders, and also pick the winner. And that's something we're working on back then as well.
Nice. The original idea for this show, it started out actually as the Racket Bracket, and it was just really hard to find people that would sit through the crazy brackets that I made, and they take way longer than I kind of had the time to concentrate on. So we sort of stepped back and we killed that one and said, okay, you know what, we're gonna do lists instead of brackets. Top 10 is a good number, not short, it's not long, like a good quickie at lunchtime. You get in, you get out, and get it done. So yeah, we have the loud list, and today our top 10 lists, we're going to be doing 2 of them tonight. So this is the first one you'll see of us. This is the top 10 Adam Sandler movies. Now, we're not necessarily doing the greatest Adam Sandler list, because I don't know if you could realistically do a greatest Adam Sandler list. So this is going to lean more towards probably a combination of greatest and favorite Sandler movies, and quite a few. Not a huge number, not as many as Nicolas Cage. I discovered when I did the Cage one, I thought, oh, that'll be easy, not realizing that man has done 177 movies. You're muted.
I had to open a can of pop, so I muted my shit so it wouldn't blow out your speakers. No, Adam Sandler had, I think, 88 credits to his name when I looked at the IMDb page. That's counting TV shows. He started, his first acting gig was actually Cosby Show. He did like 4 episodes on the Cosby Show, which was, I thought was actually something I didn't know. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he was one of Theo's friends in one of the episodes, but yeah, I mean, I knew he had a good number, but like I said, when we did the Nick one, I was like, oh, that'll be easy, this, and I was like, well, let me look at the list so I'm not missing anything, and I didn't realize Nicolas Cage had done 177 movies, and I was like, holy shit, man! Like, there's a ton of crap on this list that I have never seen with Nicolas Cage in it, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's, deep dive into the Nicolas Cage stuff that I've never seen.
I think one of these days what we need to do is, well, I don't say it's your show, but you want to create like a top 10 list of random people, like random actors. Some are going to be big, some are going to be small, but actors with the most credits.
Yeah.
Listed. And you
may
come
that would
up,
be a factual one.
you may come up with people who are well known, some people that you recognize their face, but you don't really know their name because they only do bit parts. The guy
Right.
that there's a guy out there that 99% of the roles that he's done, guys named Felix or Oscar or something along those lines. I can't remember. Is one of the Mexican dudes in like the
Oh
Fast
yeah,
and
yeah,
Furious
yeah. I know what
movies.
you're talking about. His name is Arturo. It's Arturo. Yeah, because he's in like Sons of Anarchy. He was in the Mayans, but he's been in
Yeah,
tons of, and he always uses the name Arturo because that's his actual name. And it's just it's like, you know, it's funny. It's kind of like a running joke almost now. I know what you're talking about. Danny Trejo, another one. You know, Trejo's been in. God, I would be boggled to guess how many that Danny Trejo has been in now.
but the thing with that is like if you go through IMDb, it's the actual. It's not even movies. It's the acting credits, and technically,
Right.
we have like on Bastards, we have 180 plus shows now. I think there's an acting credit for every single show listed on IMDb for Bastards, and it's an interview show. So because every single show is a different topic, it lists every single one. So you may have random people that you just would never think of.
Right. And that's a thing too. Like some of these brackets, as you noticed on the list, you know, there's going to be a major difference between being their movie and it just being an acting credit.
Yeah.
You know, Dolph Lundgren, for example. Lundgren is going to have, you know, a number of his movies, but then there's going to be those acting credits where he's not the star of the movie. He's just in the movie. And do those actually count as Dolph Lundgren movies, or are they separate of, you know, starring roles? So, you know, I if I was doing, you know, the top 10 movies starring Bruce Willis, I would only probably put the ones that he was the star of, not just things he appeared in as a side character. So, you know, and Danny Trejo, again, perfect example of, you know, if you're doing the top 10 Trejo movies, yes, there's your long list of what he has been the star of, Machete and all of that. But then there's, you know, 300 where he's only been sort of a character in something else. So, you know. All right. So this is the top 10 I already screwed that up. Top 10 Adam Sandler movies. We will start with Freddie. Do you have any honorable mentions?
I started with a list of 15 movies and I tried to narrow it down to 10. The movies that I have that I did not make my top 10 list: the movie Pixels, Bedtime Stories, Flick, Little Nicky, and Bulletproof. Little Nicky was very, very, very close to that 10 mark. Like I had to cut hairs on that one because I love that movie, but
Right.
I was trying to figure out, it's like, is it my love or is it a better movie or stuff like that? So
Okay. I will say that at least two of those you just mentioned are in my top 10.
So, by the way, side note, we were just talking about the people with the most acting credits. The first one that I recognize is actually number 7 with 592, and that is a man by the name of Eric Roberts.
Yes.
So,
He's numbered 7?
He's number 7.
Holy shit, because I would have had him in the top 3 because I know Eric Roberts has been in. I knew his was like super high. Like I had no idea.
Well, there's
on the list.
Bollywood credits in here too. Chip Kapoor, Yuri Lowenthal. He was in Spider-Man 2018. Fred Tatas was in Team America World Police. Another name I can't pronounce. He looks like Bollywood. Frank Welker. He was
been in a ton of stuff.
He comes in number 2 with 857. But the number 1 is a name I can't pronounce. In the Telugu film industry, he's a comedian, but he has 1,168 actor credits. So
okay, I'll probably just stick with the American ones.
Yeah,
that people recognize. You know, I don't think people are going to recognize many Bollywood or African type ones. But for my honorable mentions, I have Hustle and Uncut Gems. Both great movies, a little different for Sandler, more serious roles. Both really killer films, but I think I lean more towards what Sandler is known for, which is just the dumb, senseless comedy. So those are my honorable mentions.
And see, those two weren't actually on my list because they weren't on the IMDb spot as well. So
yeah, I say they're listed under his credits, but they're like newer movies within the last couple years. So
Yeah.
and them being serious movies, I think people have kind of overlooked him a little bit because he's not like yucking it up in those. So for number 10, what do you got at number 10?
50 First Dates. I do like this movie. I think it's comedy, but it's comedy. It's kind of stupid comedy and not even funny stupid comedy. There's certain bits that I absolutely love. It's kind of a sad story too when you think of it.
Right.
It deserves to be in the top 10 list, but it was between that and Little Nicky, and Little Nicky is just stupid comedy for the sake of stupid comedy. So I at least had to go for the heartstrings on 51st Dates to make it into the top 10.
Yeah, 51st Dates is more of a kind of a romantic comedy, but yeah, it's so my number 10 is just purely stupid comedy, probably the most stupid comedy of the ones he's done. My number 10 is You Don't Mess with the Zohan, and I don't think he's done anything that's much more stupid than or outrageous than Zohan, with all the little nods to the Three Stooges and all of that in that movie. So that's my number 10. Number 9,
Wedding Singer. There's just, and that's not even for the movie itself. There's the entire "Grow Old with You" song is one of my favorite, just romantic songs in general. And people tell me this, like, you can't claim that because it's not an actual radio type song or CD type song or an actual song. It's just it's a movie song. I'm sitting there going, it's like, I don't care. It could have been a song that I wrote, and it could have been one of my favorite songs, and it's still a song. So chill your roll, son.
Yeah, like I think people forget that Sandler, on top of the comedy stuff and the stand up and all that, he's actually a very capable musician and singer songwriter. So I mean, I know he
number one Hanukkah song.
That's what I'm saying. Like I know he leans more towards the silly. If Sandler ever decided to just sit down and do an actual music record that, like what Eddie Murphy and others have attempted to do, he could probably do pretty well. I think there would be a market for what he did. So number 9 for me, it's one of my favorite music-based movies, and it's the movie Airheads. Him and Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi. Very different role for Steve Buscemi, kind of, and really great soundtrack. And again, it plays into Adam being a musician and him being the only one of the 3 that was actually musically inclined. So, I still have a soft spot for that movie. So it's my number 9. Number 8.
Billy Madison. I absolutely love this movie. I still quote every once in a while the entire "you're not cool unless you pee your pants" thing, especially when I'm outside trying to water the lawn or messing with the pressure washer and I get soaked. And my kids, who are way too young to know what this movie is, have never seen it. I have a 6-year-old that every once in a while he comes downstairs because he's still young enough to wet the bed and whatever. And I look at my wife and I'm like, "You're not cool unless you pee your pants." And it makes her laugh because she gets the reference. And
Right.
my wife, one of the cool things about her is that she laughs at everything.
Nice.
And I'm not that funny, but it's a nice confidence boost for me. And
Right.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's that's the one that has the whole "what you just said is one of the most idiotic yada yada ones." I love that part.
And may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah, you are awarded 0 points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Simple no would have sufficed.
Right, but I haven't seen that movie in a really long time, and I don't think I've ever watched that like all the way through. I always seem to catch that one when it'll be on like TV or something, and I catch it in bits and pieces. And I don't know why. I've never.
The villain, Eric, or whatever the hell his name is, that villain from that movie, when we did our villains bracket, like our movie villains bracket, he ended up winning one side of the bracket. And then, of course, Jenny Gump won the other side of the bracket because she was going to win the entire thing anyway. But yeah, it was between them two in the final 2. And I don't think he gets enough credit as a villain just but that guy's an asshole.
My number 1 villain is always going to be Boyd Crowder. I can't think of a better villain TV wise than that one. I wouldn't make him my number one movie one, but TV wise, he was like the complete villain. So number 8 for me, it is one of Adam's newest movies. I love the movie because it's a family movie in the sense that he did it with his 2 daughters, his wife, his son. They were all in the movie. They're all the stars of the movie. And it's loosely based on a real life situation from their family. And it's called You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah. It was one of those movies I thought I was going to hate. I ended up laughing a lot more than I thought I was going to. And I just love the fact that the thing about Adam that I love so much is he's so protective of his people. Like he's very loyal. And that is not only the actors, but also like now his daughters, his son, his wife. I found out and I never realized his wife has literally been in every single one of his movies. I didn't know that. I guess I never mentally paid attention to once it was pointed out to me and all these scenes, I was like, oh, yeah, I totally remember those scenes. And I guess I just never realized that was his wife that was just sort of in these random spots. So I love that loyalty, man, that sort of Easter egg almost that he does with his people. And I think that's very cool. Loyalty is a hard thing to come by these days. So yeah, You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah is my number 8. Number 7.
Anger Management. I'm not a huge fan of the TV show itself, but this movie, I still like when I talk to people, because I'm usually a kind of a go on to get on type kind of guy. Some people get really mad and frustrated and laugh. I look them straight in the face. I go, "Ooh, fraba," and it usually makes them laugh because they catch a reference, and it is what it is. So it's a movie that teaches you a little bit too, and I appreciate stuff like that because it's not preachy, but you still learn from it. So I'm gonna go with Anger Management on that one.
Yeah, Anger Management is a movie that it took me a minute to kind of get into. The very first time I saw it, I freaking hated it. There was something about it. I wasn't in the right space mentally, I think, and I was just kind of like sitting watching this movie almost in the frame of mind of I have like when I watch a Will Ferrell movie, where I'm just kind of like, this isn't funny, when's the joke coming? But I've seen it multiple times now, and it is funny, and it does have good spots in it. I just never, that particular first time was not it for me, but I have a much better viewpoint of it now. So yeah.
We're speaking of Will Ferrell, by the way, I don't like Will Ferrell. I can't stand the guy. Very few movies that he's in that I actually enjoy. And throughout the couple of years that we've been doing Bastards, I try to poke fun at every of the Bastards that we have, doing a bracket. It started with Harvey. We ended up doing a Will Smith bracket, but started with him. But I've never done one for me because we just haven't gotten that far. So 7/13 this year. So in July, we're doing a Will Ferrell movie bracket.
Oh God.
So, and I don't know if I'm going to vote on that one, or I don't know if I'm just going to spit fire the entire time.
Yeah. Will is somebody that, I'll watch his movies if somebody else is watching them or whatever, but I can't remember a Will Ferrell movie that I've ever laughed at. You know what I'm saying? Where
there's only one Will Ferrell movie that I would recommend, and that's called Stranger Than Fiction. That is one good Will Ferrell movie, but it's also one. It's not really a comedy. It is a comedy, but I'm not for certain.
That's the one where he falls into like the pickle vat or something.
It's been a while. I think so. But it's just it's a good movie. It is completely different from what he normally does. And
yeah.
So
like I said, Talladega Nights is really the only movie he's ever done that I've had like a chuckle or two at. And it wasn't him, it was like the kids or
his kids, yeah.
Or just something different, It's like he's not one of them guys. He's up there with Seth Rogen. Seth is another one that I don't find funny. But anyways, number 7 for me is Little Nicky. I like Little Nicky for the same reason as Ohan. It's just goofy fun. I love the element. I love that Rodney Dangerfield is in it, and Rodney is one of my all-time favorites. You know, his manic nature is always, even if it's a small part, you know, that whole nature that he has, you know, it just is always good for a chuckle. So Little Nicky is my number 7. Number 6.
One of my favorite holiday movies of all time is Eight Crazy Nights.
Yeah.
I don't get the opportunity to call people a poopsicle nowhere near enough. And it's just, it's a sad thing in life, but that's what it is. Eight Crazy Nights is one of those few Christmas movies. There's 2 Christmas movies, and it's not even a Christmas movie. It's a much like It's a Wonderful Life, because It's a Wonderful Life is not a Christmas movie either.
Yeah.
It's just it's a winter movie. But Eight Crazy Nights is a Hanukkah movie. It's one of the few holiday movies out there that actually kind of make me tear up.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to kind of tear up around holidays, because the holidays are, for a lot of people, it's one of the best times of the year. Granted, for a lot of people, it's some of the worst times of the year as well. And yeah. I'd like to shout out them for this one. So I'm gonna go for Eight Crazy Nights, because it's a fun time all around.
Number 6 for me. What do we got? 1, 2, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Mr. Deeds. I have Mr. Deeds at number 6. My favorite part of the movie isn't Adam so much as it is John. How do you say his last name? Not Torrentino. One who plays the butler.
Guy that likes feet.
Yeah.
Let me touch your feet.
He's really one of them. He's sort of like Buscemi in the sense that he's really an underrated actor. Like he plays like really good secondary. You know, on Monk, he was like Monk's brother. You know, like he's really good in those sort of side quests almost of type characters. And he makes the movie that even at the end when he finds out, he's like, it's me. And then he's like, then he's on stage and good. So Mr. Deeds. Number 5.
Waterboy. And I feel bad about this movie because it makes fun of mentally challenged people, but it's still a mentally challenged person that wins, much
right.
like the entire Forrest Gump type thing. Even through that entire thing, like he still wins, and he's still smarter than some of the people he's in college with. But it's a funny movie. I have the Bobby Boucher jersey upstairs. It's one of my favorites. It's one of the people that when I wear it around town, it's one that people recognize as well. So that and my Shane Falco jersey is another crowd popper as well. So
I really need a soundboard. I really need a bell or a whistle or something for when it doesn't happen that often, but every once in a while you will hit something where you match. And this is why I need a bell. My number 5 is The Waterboy. It for all of the reasons, a great cast. Winkler is awesome. Kathy Bates is awesome. Love Cruises. She's so hot. And more than anything, Jerry Reed. Got to meet Jerry Reed when I was a kid. I'm a massive fan of both his music and his acting. And it was such a great role for Jerry. You know, Jerry was one of those guys that he didn't get to act nearly as much as he should have, because he really was an incredibly talented guy who had a ton of range. Like Jerry could have done some crazy stuff given opportunities beyond what he got. You know, he could have been a really horrific bad guy, or he could have been like a really great good guy like the Snowman. So kind of sad Jerry didn't get to do more.
For the people out there listening, Jerry Reed played the Snowman in Smoking the Bandit.
Yes,
which is probably one of his most famous roles of all time.
That's how I got to meet him. We rode into a truck stop one day, 1978, and I was with my dad. It was right towards the end. Mom and Dad got divorced when I was early when I was young. Dad got custody of me. We didn't have a house. We literally lived in his truck. We just traveled. So we rode into a truck stop one day, seen the truck in the parking lot, immediately caught my attention. And I was like, Dad, it's the Snowman's truck. And I was like, no, it's not his truck. It's some old boy who's got a copy of his truck. And I said, oh, okay. I made sense. And we went in, sat down. I had to go to the bathroom. So I got up to go to the bathroom, and I went down and went that way towards the bathroom. And very back of the truck stop, he was sitting at the table with about 6 other guys. And I stopped and I ran back to the table. I told my dad, I said, Dad, that truck is Jerry's truck. He's like, no, it's not Jerry's truck. I said, Dad, Jerry's in the back. Oh, it's just some old boy who looks like Jerry. And I was like, Jerry's kind of hard to, say for somebody else. So I marched right back to the table, and 7-year-old me, I posted up and looking at him and said, Can I help you, son? I said, Are you Jerry Reed? He said, Yes, I am. I said, My dad said it wasn't you. He said, Where's your daddy at? I said, He's over there. Jerry stood up. He yowls across the truck stop. He's like, Son, come on over here and have dinner with us. My dad stood up and about shit himself. And what it was, they were filming Smokey and the Bandit 2, and they were filming all the trucking scenes, and they were away from catering and got hungry. So they stopped for dinner, and it was him and all the camera guys that were filming, and they were just sitting back there eating, doing nothing, and 7-year-old kid happened to, wander in and disrupt them, but super nice guy, super hilarious. And, I was a huge fan before that. So, but it was very cool to have dinner with him and get to meet him and hang out and hear the stories of everything. And it gives you kind of new perspective into who a person is when you see them outside of what you think they are on TV or whatever. So he signed up a bunch of stuff for dad and everything. So
I think that'd be one thing that I would absolutely, if I was famous and traveling and stuff like that, one thing that would never get old for me is random occurrences.
Yeah.
Not signings and stuff like that, because signings, you're kind of there. I would still love signings because you get to talk to people, and you know me, I like to talk to pretty much everybody. But random occurrences like going to a diner or going to Walmart. Jelly Roll the other day bought his own album at Walmart, and a lot of people at Walmart didn't recognize who he was. How, I have no clue, because
Jelly would be impossible to miss.
Jelly, I mean, he has lost a lot of weight, but Jelly Roll is one of the most recognizable people on the planet right now because he's Jelly Roll. But having the ability to even do that, I was recognized for my podcast work. I went through the drive-through at McDonald's up in Des Moines. It's our closest big city, I guess. It's also a capital. And I was going through a drive-through, and I went through the drive-through, got up to the front, and I said hello and everything else, going through it, and they stopped, turned around, and then turned back around and looked at me. It's like, have you ever heard of the show Bracket Bastards? I looked him straight in the face. I go, yeah, I think I know somebody who actually runs that entire thing.
Nope, never heard of it.
And they're like, it is you, and I'm like, yeah, blah blah blah, and they did the entire thing. Hey, I think it was Charlie who was talking about, but Charlie, this is a show I was talking about and everything else. I gave him my card, and they got to meet me and everything else. There was no there. I didn't sign anything because I'm not a famous person, but stuff like that is just being recognized by people who you don't know, like who you don't know. It's still one of the coolest things that will ever happen to me. And I'm looking forward to the day that I get to not only get to go to a Comic-Con, but I'm invited to a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
To have a booth and like talk to people and do stuff like that. I would continually, like, I would have a list of tournaments to do the entire time and randomly pull people in and record all of them.
My dream, my goal, number one on my bucket list for this is to be invited to Rockin' Pod Expo. I've never gotten to go, and I'm going to go next year, but it'll be just kind of in whatever capacity. I want to get to a point where they actually invite me like they do other podcasts that have achieved their noticeable space in the music thing.
Yeah.
And whether it's for these books that I'm writing that are published later this year, or for whatever reason, I want that email to come to say, hey, you have earned your spot in the music space to the point where you're on that same level as all of these 80s hair bands, as Eddie Trunk, as all of the other people that they invite to this thing. And, it's sort of like a validation of, a lot of people hear my nickname, the Music God, and they think, oh, well, that's a name that I gave myself or something else. And it's really not. There's a whole story behind it. And I want people to understand that, look, there's a reason I have the name. It's not just a cute name, or it's not something that I'm trying to be arrogant about. It's really based on the fact that it doesn't matter what kind of music you throw at me. Doo-wop, country, metal, punk, classical, blues, reggae. I won't be able to do it without much of any thought, And that's what it's about, is I am versatile, and well-rounded in the music thing. So
and one of the things about Bastards, and I tell people this, guests and stuff like that, I try not to deep dive into into their history or who they are or whatever, because I want to have the ability one of these days to have a really famous person on the show.
Right.
But I'm not going to advertise that they're on the show. It's just going to be a completely random thing one day. You have like, if we, in the entire Taylor Swift bracket that we did last year, if we would have Taylor Swift on the actual show,
yeah,
you wouldn't know until the show started, type thing.
Until you blew up your servers and
if people just randomly did it, and that's the reason why is because I want these superstars to come in and know that you're among friends instead of fans.
Right.
And it's a lot more fun that way. Like I want people just to be that. And I'm not saying that they're not important. I'm not saying anything else. I just, as much as I want to be recognized, I also recognize that people who are recognized all the time sometimes don't want to be.
Right.
So this would give them the opportunity. It's live. It's on YouTube, and it may blow up a week from now when it just kind of happens to leak. But if you don't share it, like if you don't promote it as a star, let's say Taylor Swift, if Taylor Swift didn't put it on her Twitter channel or whatever, and we just didn't really pin her name other than we're doing a Taylor Swift bracket, then it may go completely unnoticed for the longest time, which is really cool, because then you don't really have any backlash for it.
Yeah.
But
I've only had that one time when I was doing internet radio. I had Angry Grandpa, and I'm really good. I was really good friends with those guys. I was friends with his son, Michael, beforehand, and then I got friends with Charles, and he's like, hey, he's like, I want to come on your radio show one day. And I was like, okay. And I was like, when? And he's like, right now. And I was like, okay. So he like tweeted that he was going to be on my radio show. Now, on a typical, at that time, I might get 20 people listen to the radio show. Blew our whole fucking server up. Like, just crashed the server because 11,000 people were trying to listen at the same time. And I was calling the guy that owned the station. I was like, dude, the server's crashing. What the hell's going on? And he's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing to crash the server? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I got somebody on the show who's popular. And Olin goes in and he looks and he's like, dude, you got like 10,000 people listening. I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, the server's only set up for 500 people. Like, I was like, oh, my bad. He's like, here, he's like, let me up the server thing. And then he said it because he kept it low so that the bandwidth was low. And he's like, he's like, in the 10 years I've had the station, he's like, I've never had anyone come near to the 500 mark. He's like, you had like 10,500 people that were pinging the system. And I was like, I'm sorry. And he's like, no, he's like, just let me know ahead of time if you're going to do that. And I was like, I honestly didn't think that many people were going to listen. Like I knew he was popular on YouTube, but I didn't realize how popular he was on YouTube. Like I didn't realize.
There's a whole bunch of YouTube personalities that I watch.
Yeah.
That I would, I don't know if they're famous or not, because it's just, it's what it is. It's in my system of the stuff that I watch. There's a wrestling pod entire channel called What Culture Wrestling. And Adam Wilborn, he's one of the hosts over there. He's somebody I would love to get on our wrestling show.
Yeah.
And he's, I don't know if he's famous or what, or whatever, but he's still somebody that I think we could jive with on the wrestling show.
Right.
And that's why we want him on. It's like, I don't want him on because he's pseudo famous. I want him on because I think he'd be an absolute cool guest to have. If we make a couple more fans from it, sure, whatever, it's great. But
yeah, what I didn't realize at the time was when he came on the show, so Michael recorded this clip of him reacting to the Casey Anthony verdict. And I had seen the video. What I didn't realize or didn't know that is it had been picked up by Spike TV and had been part of like the world's funniest whatever. So their viewership went from, like, before that, they were getting a couple 100,000 views on their videos. And then after Spike TV showed it and people found out who he was, it went up. They were getting like 5 to 10 million views per video. And I didn't realize that the numbers had spiked because of that. So I thought, okay, we're just dealing with the crowd that had been there the whole time I had been friends with them. I didn't realize like this whole new crowd had sort of migrated to him because of Spike TV and him, sitting in his chair in his bedroom and being pissed off about the Casey Anthony thing and picking a hammer up, and he starts like beating the TV and throws the TV across the room, and he's screaming about Casey Anthony being a child murdering bitch and all this other stuff. So that's basically what ended up is, I guess those people were, new people. So anywho, we left off at number 5, the Waterboy, both mutually, hey, you know us. If anything, we never stay on track. Number 4, what do you got for number 4?
Your number 6, I have Mr. Deeds. It's just, I always tell my wife, it's like, I love the movie Mr. Deeds because Mr. Deeds has the same name as my penis, Longfellow.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Not the direction I was thinking of it, but okay.
I'm kidding, by the way. But that's kind of a short story. The Mr. Deeds, though, is a damn good movie. It's one of those things that it goes under the radar, but
yeah,
it's a story of a nice guy.
Yeah.
And they keep saying that nice guys finish last and everything else. And this is a story where this guy is just super chill. I don't think he was actually acting in this movie because from what I understand, Adam Sandler is just super chill about what's going on in life. And I appreciate that. It's like, and that's one thing we don't need. I think in life, I would much rather hear about people who just kind of do cool shit because they want to do cool shit.
Yeah.
They're not doing it to make money. They're not doing it to whatever. They're just making memories and they're being nice to one another. And if you can be nice to somebody, be nice to somebody. The only reason you need to be a dick to somebody is because they're not listening and they've been warned that you're going to start being a dick to them. If you warn them, you're going to be a dick to them and they're still continually to be a Karen about situations.
Right.
You have every right to do it.
Right.
But Mr. Deeds, it's just, he's a good dude. He's just, and that's why he's my number 4, because it's just a good dude.
Yeah, so as I stated earlier with Adam, and it's the same reason for Kevin Smith. The reason I like their movies more so than the movie content, and it is the movie content, but it also boils down to, as I stated, they're loyal to their people. They're loyal to who they are as a person, and Adam and Kevin both sort of that same thing. Like there's no fake about it. They just are who they are. And it's kind of, Kevin, I'm a comic book geek who gets to make movies, and you can tell there's really nothing fake about Kevin. Kevin is just who Kevin is, and he's never going to try to be anything else, and he doesn't give a shit about being anything else. And Adam is the same way. Adam has sort of transcended Hollywood at this point. Adam has kind of realized, like, he doesn't really need movie studios to make his movies at this point. He's just going to do what he does. And he shows up at the Oscars wearing basketball shorts and a tank top, and nobody twice about it because it's just what Adam does.
The thing about that though is that I've seen him get major flack for it. It's like, oh, you're supposed to dress up for the Oscars. You have people wearing like I think Lady Gaga wore like a swan outfit or something like that.
Yeah.
One day, and it just looks like a giant poof ball.
Yeah.
Where you also. It automatically reminded me of the kid who wrapped himself in tulle, like wedding tulle and stuff like that, and spray painted it brown and purple, and went as a fart for Halloween. That's exactly what that reminds me of. I'm like, you're giving Adam Sandler shit for dressing like a normal human being, but you go up there looking like a bird.
Yeah, Jelly falls under it too. People don't realize. A lot of people, I've heard people remark about Jelly. Oh, well. This, and this, and this. And I was like, I'm telling you right now, I've known this guy personally since 2004. We booked shows in Little Rock in 2004 when he first got out of federal prison. Jelly is exactly who you see. There's no fake or facade about that man. He genuinely is one of the realest, kindest guys you'll ever meet. But there is also that side that, look, this man was in federal prison. He comes from the trap. Fuck around and push his buttons if you want. Jelly will smack the shit out of you. He doesn't want to, and you got to really act the ass to bring that out in him. But I've seen people get overly aggressive with Jason, and Jason has been like, look, bro, fuck around. I'm still 6'4" and 300 pounds. Whatever, but he's the same way. He's he's a big teddy bear, and he wants to do right, and like I said, that's why I love Kevin. That's why I love Adam is, they're just normal guys that are just trying to do good in the world in whatever little capacity they can. And I think that's what makes Mr. Deeds such a charming movie is it is close to who he is. And it's just a lesson that sometimes, the part in the movie where the football player comes in swearing and he's like, then he smacks the dude and he's like, I warned you. It's exactly what you're saying, you can be nice up to the point of you're just not. And that's life. Sometimes people don't understand anything else than being smacked in the mouth, sadly. But
well, and see, all three of those people that were mentioned, I would love to have on the show.
Yeah.
I want to have Jelly on any of the shows that we have, and not only we ended up doing an iconic country song today, but I like to get people who are not known for what they do, especially if it was a famous person. Imagine Jelly Roll in, like, let's say on 10/26 of this year, we're doing a John Candy movie tournament.
Yeah.
I could imagine Jelly Roll absolutely just loving just being able for 2 hours or so talk about John Candy. Because I guarantee you that he grew up watching John Candy movies.
Probably.
And to have him light up and just be a normal person for 2 hours and that'd be one of those shows that we normally do it live. We normally do it live. If I had somebody like Jelly Roll come up, we would record the show, but we would do it on a random Wednesday or something like that. Not Wednesday because the wrestling shows, but do it on a random day of the week. Make sure that his company goes through the show and make sure that, hey, there's certain things that we can and cannot do or whatever. That way, when it does get posted,
yep,
and it would not be advertised. Only people that would know would be people who are on the show and the people who have been talked to because of the show. So it'd still be a local type thing.
Yeah.
But you have that and just the ability to be human every once in a while. On the flip side, having Adam Sandler, I wouldn't even have Adam Sandler or Kevin Smith on Bastards.
Yeah.
I want them on the recasting call.
Yeah. Kevin would be amazing on the recasting call.
And the recasting call, even those are recorded a month in advance.
Yeah.
So nobody would know, really, unless it got out somehow. Nobody would know that they're on the show until the show drops. And then it just kind of leaks out that that's what we're talking about. So I think, and have a very famous movie. Could you imagine, like, one of the next movies we're doing is, let's say, Die Hard. Could you imagine Kevin Smith recasting with current people Die Hard?
Yeah.
His love of 80s movies in general, and the knowledge that he had the ability to prepare for it, not just off the cuff.
Not just his love of it, his knowledge of it.
And his knowledge of it. Like having that go and just having and eventually Kate and I, because I wouldn't invite anybody else on the show, just Kate and I, we would get our fanboy and fangirl stuff out before the show started.
Right.
So it would literally be just myself, Kate, and Kevin or Sandler talking like human beings back and forth.
Yeah.
And he would just be a guest on the show and not a famous person. We're going to talk to him normally.
Yep.
And bullshit back and forth as much as we can, just as friends. So, and it would be a lifelong thing that I would be able to do. I wouldn't meet him face to face, but be able to go on, like you have Zoom, but go on a podcast thing to talk to him for an hour and a half ish, just like not really one-on-one, but like a 1v1v1 type thing for an hour and a half. That would be worth a lot of money to have somebody pay to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if nobody heard it, it would still be just a fun thing to do.
Yeah, that ranks up there with my Chino XL. I did, Chino behind KSR1. He's like number 2 on my GOAT list for hip hop, and I got to do that interview with him, and it became too personal. Like we got talking about both being fathers of children that died, and I knew Chino had demons. He had a horrific childhood. It got really personal, really dark, really close to the bone. And about halfway through that interview, my brain was kind of like, I'm never going to end up airing this podcast because it's too personal. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it was almost like a therapy session more than it was a podcast. So I never did air it. And I had it, and I told Chino, like, look, blah, blah, blah. I was like, but I'm not going to. He said, oh, go ahead. I don't care. People think what they want. I was like, no, it's not about that, bro. It's just too close to the ball. And about 3 months ago, he committed suicide. And I've had this interview for like 5 years. Never aired, never anything. And I emailed his daughter, his oldest daughter. And I said, look, I have this interview with your dad. It's never aired. Let me send it to you, because while I could have been the dickhead and been like, oh, I have an thing of Chino, blah, 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 talking about all these demons he had and all of that, and capitalized on it right at the time of his suicide. It was just never even a thought for me to do that, because that's my fucking hero, man. And I'm not shocked he committed suicide. I'm shocked it took as long as it did. I mean, the guy had demons beyond demons. And I hate saying that, but it was always kind of a foregone conclusion that Chino was going to go out that way. It just, yeah. So I sent her the email, and she said, well, you could have aired this. And I was like, I know, but it just never sat right with me. I never wanted to capitalize off someone's pain. I don't want to capitalize off of somebody's sorrow or moment where they're vulnerable, and really sweet girl, and I said, hey, it's yours. You do what you want with it. If you guys want to publish it, you want to put it out there, awesome. It is yours to own now. I relinquish all rights to this to you, because it's sat on my desktop for 5 years to just sort of there. But getting back on track, we got this other one we're going to be doing tonight.
I told you this was going to happen. Like,
yeah.
Man, we get sidetracked on shit, and me, I can talk about random.
Number 4 for me is Pixels. Just the 80s nod in this movie is what makes it for me. Yeah. I spent so many hours playing Galaga in arcade, so the Galaga scene is especially poignant to me. I kind of found myself watching that scene and be like, no, go this way, this one's coming, because I know Galaga like the back of my hand. So, and I love the interaction of Adam and Kevin James. Kevin James acting as a president was, I think, the funniest point of the movie to me. It was just so illogical. Like, of all the people that they could have made president, Chris Rock, Steve Buscemi, even Rob Schneider would have, I think, been a more realistic president than what Kevin James is. But that's my number 4. Number 3.
Big Daddy. As a dad in general, I have 3 kids, and it's the act of being thrown into the deep end. Because not only am I a dad of two biological children of my own, but I'm also a stepdad as well. And when my wife and I got together, we kind of made a preformed family, or she came with like a preformed family type thing. So me going into a world of being a boy dad, because my oldest is a girl dad, or I'm a girl dad, right. My oldest. There's so many things I didn't know. I didn't know about the entire peeing everywhere type thing. And there's stuff in Big Daddy that is absolutely, it's comical because it's true. So Big Daddy hits really, really close to home with me. That's why it's my number 3.
Nice. We don't exactly match on number 3, but we're pretty close.
Yep.
I went for a movie still in the exact same theme. My number 3 is That's My Boy. It was, again, stupid, goofy comedy that had some really, outrageous parts, and love the fact that he put Vanilla Ice in a movie. That was kind of great, and sort of poke fun at the whole predator teacher thing. So That's My Boy is my number 3. Number 2, what do you got for number 2?
Longest Yard.
Oh, okay.
I'm not only a huge football fan, I'm also, as we've discussed, a huge wrestling fan. And having people like Bill Goldberg in there, shout out to Bret Hart on that comment. Having Bill Goldberg on there, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Great Khali was also in that movie. Kevin Nash was in that movie.
Yeah. And
a whole bunch of other stuff. It's just having that done, watching the original Longest Yard as well, and how the stuff, the homage to the classic part of that. And I also have I have a Coach, Crew, and Maggot jersey from The Longest Yard. I have 3 of them.
Oh, nice.
By the way, I have like somewhere around 50 different jerseys. Some of them are sports, some of them are movies, some of them are just personal ones that I've gotten for like the podcast stuff and whatever. So that's my stupid collection of things that I have, because I think everybody should have a stupid collection of something that they're never going to sell. It's just something that they're not there to make money with it. They're just there to, because it's just cool shit to have. And that's my cool shit to have. That's my collection, is just random movie jerseys. If I ever meet Adam Sandler and I have the ability for him to sign a couple things, I have like 4 different Sandler jerseys.
Nice.
I have Crew, Boucher, Gilmore, and I think there's another one too, but I can't remember what it is. But yeah, I have a whole bunch of stuff, so I think it'd be really cool. But yeah, Longest Yard is my number 2.
Number 2 for me, again, we're pretty close. I went a different direction. You mentioned one of the jerseys. Happy Gilmore for me is my number 2. You know, just a great movie, great story. Can't wait to see Happy Gilmore 2. Absolutely chomping at the bit to see what they do, bringing in the new people along with the old people, and seeing what direction they go. So Happy Gilmore, that's number 2. We're down to number 1 after taking a road map all over the United States.
About an hour into this, it's all right.
What do you got at number 1?
I have Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore is my number 1, actually, and I love this movie. I'm not looking forward to the second one, because I know sequels, especially when they're like Netflix sequels, aren't nearly as good. You have a little more leeway, but you also have a lot more leeway to do stupid shit, and it's not needed. I think Happy Gilmore was kind of a lightning in the bottle type situation. It's also a movie that we did on the recasting call as well. I cannot remember who we picked off of that one. That's something you're going to have to go look up. But
yeah, I was going to say that would be a tough one to recast for me, because it's really kind of like you said, it was that sort of lightning in a bottle that, you know.
One of these days, I'm going to go through previous episodes and write down, because I've made mention to a whole bunch of these shows, but I cannot remember who the final cast was for stuff and everything else. Off the top of my head, we've been doing this for like 3 years. We started with 12 Angry Men, and the last episode we did was Spaceballs. So they range. I think the oldest movie we ever did was The Quiet Man.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a hard one to do. But yeah, nice. Happy Gilmore, it's a fun time, and it's got the one thing I remember from that movie as a life lesson is that it's all in the hips.
Yeah.
So Gilmore gets my number 1.
Nice. For me, my number 1, it's a movie about growing up. It's a movie about getting old, looking back, fond memories, but also realizing that even if you make mistakes in your past, it doesn't have to dictate your future. My number 1 is Grown Ups. Kind of both of them, really. One more than 2. But, it's just that movie of, I don't want to say forgiveness, but sort of like it's, you grow up, you kind of grow apart from friends, but eventually, for whatever reason, maybe you come back together and you realize that you've taken separate paths, but you really haven't been as far apart as you think maybe you were. And there's always that chance to kind of just look back and reflect and maybe realize maybe you're not where you want to be. Maybe you want to take a different direction. It's never too late. So yeah, my number 1 is Grown Ups. Again, that loyalty to his people, the way the movie was cast, all of that. So yeah.
One other movie, by the way, that kind of gives me the Grown Ups vibe is the movie Click.
Yeah.
Just because it's like you don't realize the moments until the moments are gone type thing, and being able to, because work hold precedence in a lot of different things, but it really shouldn't. And Grown Ups is kind of the same thing, where you never, much like the movie Stand By Me, you never have friends like the friends that you had when you were a child. So yeah. Grown Ups is a good get. I'm not a huge fan of the movie, but I enjoy the mentality of it.
Yeah. So that's going to wrap up the top 10 Adam Sandler movies. As always, be well, treat each other with kindness, and remember that if you're going through something, music, movies, that kind of stuff has massive healing power. Any final words?
Never eat yellow snow.
Yes. And very quickly, where do they find you?
I am not your host, Freddie Fisher. You can find me at that on Facebook. While you're on Facebook, check out Bracket Bastards, the audience vote, where you can vote along with us every single week for Bracket Bastards. On Twitter, I'm at Fisher777. We're all at Bracket Pod. And on Instagram, as always, you can find me at Can't Lick Me, not one word.
Beautiful. Well, we'll see you on the flip side.